In tonight's video, we're taking a look at the latest NHL trade talk. We're once again focusing on the Oilers' defense and goaltending issues. Another poor start tonight. Obviously, the coaching change is worn off already. You think a goaltending trade has to be coming soon. We have a couple of mock trades from a lot of NHL reporters that I want to take a look at here tonight. We also have some trade talk around the Calgary Flames and another team involved that has interest in their defensemen, not just the Maple Leafs, but another team in the Eastern Conference as well. Plus the latest on Patrik Laine's future with the Columbus Blue Jackets. We have new jerseys released for the upcoming Winter Classic. Lots of other updates around the NHL and the injury front, roster moves, and it looks like Nicholas Backstrom in Washington career might be over. All that and more coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As you can see, we're kind of recording in a different location here tonight, doing it downstairs. You get a bit of a Christmas theme here since we're all decorated for the holidays already. I'm currently experiencing some technical issues. As I recorded this video, actually, we're having issues with our internet this evening, so I'm not sure exactly when this is going to make it onto YouTube. Hopefully it doesn't take too long, but we'll see where things go. But because of the internet issues, it kind of creates problems with my normal set. So we're going to do it down here tonight. So as I mentioned, lots of news to talk about today. Well, let's start off with the jersey release that came for the Seattle Kraken and Vegas Golden Knights. I'll show you a quick image here on the screen in case you missed it earlier. But these jerseys are now available for public purchase through the NHL shop, which is through one of our affiliate sites. So certainly there will be a link in the pinned comment down below if you have any interest or want to check it out. There's lots of other great deals as well coming up for Black Friday for NHL shop if you're looking for some NHL gear. So certainly check out the link in the pinned comment and you can consider making a purchase. I think these jerseys are both very well done. I like them both, to be completely honest. I've seen a lot of, for the most part, positive feedback, a little bit of, comments saying that they didn't care for them or whatnot, but to be honest, I think they're well done. I like them myself. I'd love to get some feedback from yourself. Let me know which, if there's one you like better than the other, or which one you would consider making a purchase on. If you're a fan of either of those teams especially, I would think that these unique jerseys would be something you'd want to add to your collection. So again, if you're interested, the pinned comment down below, you can check out the NHL shop site and get a better idea of the cost and everything like that. And of course, any purchase you make through our link does help support the channel, so that's always greatly appreciated as well. We had a signing in Pittsburgh. They've signed defenseman Dmitry Samorukov. He gets a one-year deal for the rest of the season at $775,000. So of course, they're adding to their defensive depth. He was previously on a minor league deal. Now that gets upgraded. The Tampa Bay Lightning today, John Cooper made a statement indicating that Andrei Vasilevskiy is going to be joining the team on their upcoming 3-game road trip, and that he is very likely to play before the end of the trip. So that's good news for Tampa and bad news for the rest of the league. Tampa's done an okay job of kind of hanging around and being in the mix for playoffs, and now they're going to get their top goalie back. If he comes back and is able to play at his normal high level, that's certainly, like I said, going to be bad news for a lot of the other teams, especially teams in the Atlantic Division, will make it tougher on them. I guess the key point when you know for sure when he's going to play is they're likely going to have to place Matt Tompkins on waivers. He's been pretty much riding as the backup goalie behind Jonas Johansson so far early in the campaign. But at this point, I think a lot of teams, knowing Vasilevskiy is going to be back here within the next week, probably a little bit less concerned about placing a goalie on waivers, or a little bit less concerned about losing a goalie if they have to send one down or whatnot, because obviously, with some big injuries around the league like Vasilevskiy's kind of created a scenario where a lot of teams are carrying 3 goalies, and it's not really ideal, but at the same time, they're not the only team that's had goaltender issues as well. I mean, the Edmonton Oilers that we've been talking about off and on, who can't seem to get a save to save their life at any point here. So obviously, we'll see more probably goalie activity though as he returns. So that's good news for Tampa. The Blue Jackets today recalled Erik Johnson. They're having a big game tonight. We're going to talk a little bit about Patrik Laine coming up. 14 games on the schedule this evening. So there was no games yesterday, no games tomorrow for U.S. Thanksgiving, but lots of action here tonight. Of course, the Jackets exploded tonight against the Blackhawks. Game's not over yet, but I believe last time I checked was 7-2. A lot of guys getting off the schneid there in Columbus, which is great to see. The Penguins ended up with a bit of an injury problem after their last game. The Penguins have Rickard Rakell, who's going to be on LTIR, and Brian Rust and Chad Ruhwedel, both as well, going to be out for not as long as Rakell, but probably at least a week to 2 weeks, something along those lines. The Toronto Maple Leafs today, we're Heard about John Klingberg again, but no definitive timeline for him. But he's not going to be able to play for the next little bit for sure. Did not practice. Again, NHL reporters and insiders, like I know, for example, Darren Dreger on TSN made a variety of appearances on different radio shows today and was saying that essentially he expects Klingberg to likely end up on LTIR, and there's a good chance he might not play this season for the rest of the year because of, I guess, an ongoing nagging hip problem. Not sure if he's going to end up getting a surgery or how that's going to work. The part here that kind of is a little bit mind-boggling is he only played a handful of games for the Leafs. And the first little bit, he was doing all right, racking up a few assists. Everything was going well. Fans seemed to be happy with the Klingberg experience. And then things on a defensive aspect started going downhill in a hurry. And then all of a sudden, like, he's had this issue which nobody had heard of. And they're saying it's been something he's been dealing with for a long time. How do they not know this? Do they not see the risk involved here? It just seems like a bit of a wasted signing in the offseason. I know they can place him on LTIR and kind of respend that money, but if they didn't have him in the first place, they could have respent the money, relocated it to other resources here on the team. So hard to say what's going to happen with Klingberg here in his future, especially in the short term with Toronto. It sounds like there's a good chance he's going on LTIR for the rest of the campaign, but that's not confirmed as of right now. The Red Wings were sitting out Klim Kostin out of tonight's lineup. He's going to be scratched. Sounds like that's not due to him being injured, but it sounds like there was some sort of team policy violated. They didn't really give a lot of details. I don't know if he missed a meeting or was late for practice, or it sounds like it was something along those lines, and he's going to have to sit out because of it. So hopefully it's nothing serious, because they did make it sound like it was, and he'll hopefully be back in the lineup in the not-too-distant future here. Cal Clutterbuck of the New York Islanders is playing game number 1,000 tonight. An incredible accomplishment, especially considering the bulk of his career, especially during the majority of his time with the Islanders. He's been a fourth-line player. Bottom six guys are a little bit more interchangeable. They don't tend to have as long and lengthy careers as a lot of the star players that are top six big point producer. So the fact that he's been able to carve out a niche, as a guy who throws a lot of hits, plays a very physical game, blocks shots, good, on penalty kill, and just doing all the more of a role player. It's like I said, it's not as common to see them make the longevity in their career and hit this milestone. So good on him. Obviously, that's a well-deserved accomplishment after a lot of hard nights and a lot of wear and tear on that body. He's missed some time as well. Otherwise, this would have come a little bit sooner. As I mentioned as well, we also got some comments from GM of the Capitals, Brian McClellan, on Nicholas Backstrom. He did a recent interview where I was kind of reading through the quotes, and based on his comments, he sure made it sound like Nicholas Backstrom isn't coming back. I mean, when he left the team, all they'd indicated was that it was going to be an indefinite leave, and that, as far as the future goes, they didn't really know. The comments he made indicated that Backstrom's made a decision, and in fact, if he's made a decision and he's not playing, leads everybody to believe that essentially that his time as an active player appears to be done. I think they're going to have to place him for the remainder of his contract on long-term injury reserve, and I don't know when we'll get the announcement. There's really no rush to do it. It might be later in the year. Maybe it's in the off-season. I don't know when they do it. But at some point, I expected an announcement from the Capitals confirming that Nicholas Backstrom will not be able to resume playing because of the ongoing health issues with his hip, and that he'll be riding things out on LTIR until the contract expires. Unfortunate, I know a lot of people, especially where Ovechkin's chasing Gretzky's record, and of course Backstrom and Ovechkin have been inseparable their entire careers throughout their time in Washington, and everybody always kind of figured if Ovechkin was able to hit the milestone and beat Gretzky's record one day, that's probably going to be a setup and assisted by from Backstrom, and that's not looking like it's going to be the case. So unfortunate news there. He's had a great career, certainly one of the top playmakers and passers and setup guys during his era of hockey in the NHL, but unfortunately the health has gotten the best of him here. by the looks of things. A few other, before we get into the Oilers and potential trade, I know there's been lots of talk about Oilers Habs, and I don't want to kind of beat a dead horse here and kind of talk about this yet again, but it's been an ongoing hot topic around the league. But before we get into that, a couple other things to look at. Patrik Laine, for example, having a good night tonight, finally got off the schneid here and got himself a goal. So he scored tonight. Columbus, I said, had a major outpour. Like the last I checked before I started recording this video, it was 7-2 Columbus over Chicago. Fantilli set up Laine with a sweet pass, and he was able to bury it. So I'm sure that's going to help him feel better. But I know comments he made after the healthy scratch the other night, made comments suggesting that he was blindsided and, obviously embarrassed. And lots to talk about his future and Columbus. I mean, a lot of people today, I know I think every radio program I listened to today, podcast was all like, what's going on in Columbus? They're doing all this benching and healthy scratching and, a lot of the top stars. Severson's had it before he got hurt. Gaudreau's had it, Laine, and it just doesn't seem to be working. Now, obviously, tonight they've had a bit of an explosion. We'll see if they can build any momentum off of this. But essentially, it's fair to say that there's definitely some trade chatter around Patrik Laine, but the fact that he's not producing anywhere near the level he was early in his career when he was a consistent 30 to 40 goal guy there for a little while, at $8.7 million for a couple more years, unless Columbus retains money, that's going to be tough to pull off to get him in a new change of scenery and get him a new home. Not impossible, as we've seen. A lot of contracts been able to move when you think they're not movable. But at the same time, I don't think they're going to rush into this. But the thing for me in Columbus is I don't entirely agree with all of the strategies here by Pascal Vincent. I understand, like I said before a couple of times, I understand he wants to preach tough love, accountability, and I'm all for that. And a lot of teams need that. But some of these guys, he can't embarrass them. You got to help them play through it, especially in the case of Laine. To me, they had him in the wrong position. And I understand that he's been a shell of himself and that he's even struggling with the basic skills now. But I don't know, maybe you take away his power play time. A good way to send a message without taking them really too much out of their playing time or too much, instead of doing a healthy scratch, get a power play and put out all different guys. Have Gaudreau and Laine sit on the bench while the new power play one goes out or something. There's other ways to do this. So you can send that message and, give other guys the opportunity since your star players aren't playing like star players right now. But I think he might have gone too far. And to me, you got to look at Jarmo Kekalainen. I've been saying it for a long time. He's been the GM there for a really long time, and they've accomplished next to nothing. I don't understand why ownership isn't stepping in and kind of wiping the slate clean here and going a new direction. But that's what I would do. I think JD and Jarmo need to go. They haven't been able to build a winner. They've struggled to keep good players there. And really, I don't know, they made a lot of changes in the offseason, and so far most of them are not working out. And after all this time and the number of coaches they've gone through, you think at some point that their job is going to be in jeopardy, at least you think, right? Well, there you go. New Jersey had another slow start tonight, lost to the Red Wings. They are rumored to be looking for some help defensively. The D-Corps hasn't been quite living up to its expectations, and they're believed to be one of the teams that are also involved in the Calgary Flames sweepstakes. Now, of course, the Flames might have pumped the brakes on making some trades. They played a little bit better recently, so we'll see. Of course, they're going to want to make sure they get good deals anyways, because even if the Flames do turn things around and have a bit better stretch of games here, I still expect them to make some trades before the deadline and to unload some of these pending UFAs, because I don't think these guys want to re-sign. But Chris Tanev is a name to watch when it comes to the Devils. Great defensive guy, shot blocker, penalty killer, just a good stabilizer back there. So to me, he'd make a lot of sense for them. There's going to be lots of teams involved. We know the Leafs are very, very, very hot and heavy after Tanev and Zadorov. Whether or not they pull it off, I don't know. But the Devils are definitely another team that's in the mix there for sure. Now, when it comes to the Oilers and goaltending, we've talked a bit about a variety of things, but I did hear two different speculations on Campbell and the Oilers and goaltending today that I wanted to run through. The bigger one was with the Habs. That came from Oilers Nation podcast. The other one came from Darren Dreger. He said, besides the guys that you're hearing a lot about, he also suggested that a guy like Mackenzie Blackwood could be a prime target for Ken Holland and the Oilers to acquire for goaltending help, and that the Sharks will be one of the teams who actually have the ability to take on the contract of Jack Campbell. You combine that with the fact that the Sharks are rebuilding and they don't exactly have a deep prospect pool or a deep, huge stash of draft picks like some teams do. They'd be a team who would be having an incentive to take on a bad contract as long as the sweeteners are there in the form of draft capital or nice looking prospects that they like to boost that on their roster. So clearly, the Sharks are a team to watch here. They could take Campbell's full cap hit, and they could also take a couple of nice assets, like whether it's Dylan Holloway, Xavier Bourgault, first round pick, some combination of a couple of things in that category to take Campbell's contract on and then get Blackwood in return. The Oilers, in that sense, they give up some future assets, but they save some cap space to get another goaltender who can play better, hopefully, and they move on from Campbell. Now, the other that to me is actually intriguing. Blackwood is not that far removed from being a guy who was considered a potential top one or two guys for Team Canada should they go to the Olympics a couple of years ago. He hasn't been exactly Mr. Consistency, but he's playing on a tough team right now in San Jose, so it's hard to look at his numbers and be too critical. But, at the same time, he does have a decent track record compared to a lot of the other options around the NHL. Now, of course, the Montreal deal, though, we've heard different reports. Some suggest that, Jake Allen's more of the target, and others think it's more of Sam Montembeault. Now, the Oilers Nation podcast that I was listening to earlier, they made a mock trade that they suggested that the Oilers trade Jack Campbell, Ryan McLeod, and a couple of sweeteners in there. So McLeod's a younger player who is, mostly bottom six, but he's a great penalty killer and speedster. Lots to like about his game at a young age still. Not making a ton of money. You can throw in Xavier Bourgault, because we know Montreal's has heavy interest there. Maybe you have to bite the bullet and put in a first-round pick in there. But, Campbell, McLeod, Bourgault, well, all they said was Campbell and McLeod and a couple of sweeteners, like high picks or prospects, right? So I'm thinking it has to be Bourgault and maybe a first. And then in return, you get Samuel Montembeault and Sean Monahan. Now, in this scenario, they get even though long-term McLeod might be missed, but Monahan's better today and putting up better numbers. From a 3C perspective, he could play that role for the Oilers and probably give them more offense than McLeod will. And Montembeault can hopefully give them better goaltending. And in all at the same time, they can save cap space because they would come ahead cap space-wise, and they could use that extra newfound cap space to make another deal to get another defenseman. Now, I'm not sure that the Habs really have a D-man that they'd want to target in that regard, but at this point, after watching some of the Oilers' early game tonight against the Carolina Hurricanes, they are an absolute tire fire defensively. Like, I watched one of the goals, the Marty Necas goal tonight, 4 Oilers watching the puck, and nobody takes the player. Like, they're all 4 players between the goal line and the slot, and nobody takes the player, including Leon and Connor, watching him come right down the middle. Absolutely inexcusable. It is disgusting to me how this team is so bad defensively. Suddenly, like the new coach bump is already worn off, so I feel bad for Jay Woodcroft. I mean, he did not deserve to be fired. He was like, okay, I understand to a degree. He put in a new defensive system this year. It didn't work, and he was struggling to find ways to make changes to get it on track. Okay, I get the pressure there. I really do. But, the players are not executing. These guys are lost out there. Some of the plays I've seen between Cody Ceci and Nurse and, even some of the other guys, like, it's horrendous. Absolutely horrendous. Watching them try to defend in their own end. They don't have a sweet clue what they're doing. They've never been super strong defensively, but even compared to last year when everybody said, this team's a juggernaut if they could only get a save. They really weren't good defensively. The problem was they were scoring their way out of trouble. You can't win that way. I'm sorry. Like, it's just not a recipe for victory. Now, I thought the reason I picked Edmonton to be a cup contender this year was because I honestly thought that they were going to be better defensively. A full year of Matthias Ekholm. I knew Jay Woodcroft was coming into training camp with a new defensive system. It just sounded all like it was going to work out, and it has not. It's been an utter disaster and failure. So, unfortunately, a trade is going to have to come next, right? You have to think at some point, I guess I also wonder if Jeff Jackson, the CEO, tells Ken Holland, just go home. You're on contract for the rest of the year, but you're not coming back. I think the new GM, when Holland leaves, is likely going to be Dave Gagne. That's my prediction. Makes a lot of sense from a lot of ways there. Connection to the CEO, connection to a couple of players, former agent, former player. It just seems to be the trend right now, and I think it makes a ton of sense. So I won't be shocked at all if sometime, whenever that time comes, Dave Gagne is the next general manager of the Oilers. Maybe they go somebody else, but that's my pick right now. But, does Holland just get sent home? Is there any point in firing him? They don't want to embarrass him. I honestly think they're going to let him ride things out and just have somebody else kind of involved to make the decisions here. But I don't know. It's roster construction is a big issue. They can't defend. They can't get a save. And suddenly, McDavid can't be healthy. He can't be. He is not himself. Leon is lost out there. I don't know if it's just a confident shot, but it has to come next is a trade to shake things up, and it has to involve something significant. A lot of their top guys have no move clauses, so you're a little bit limited, but if you can move Campbell, even if you have to throw in a guy like McLeod, Holloway, Bourgault, a first rounder, some kind of combination of some of those younger assets that are attractive to other teams, like the Habs, and you can get Samuel Montembeault and Sean Monahan. That to me is a great deal. I think that makes a ton of sense. And like I said, they not only get a different goalie and get an upgrade down the middle, but they also save enough cap space that they can go shopping for another defenseman, which is desperately needed. Desperately needed. So we'll see what they do. Let me know your thoughts on this Oilers and Habs mock trade. Is this the one that we see happening? Do you think Mackenzie Blackwood's a viable option out of San Jose? Let me know your thoughts. And after another, embarrassing start to tonight's game, something's got to give here, and we'll see what happens in Edmonton. Let me know your thoughts on all today's news and rumors down in the comments. We'll discuss further. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and stick around. We'll keep you up to date with the latest news, rumors, and analysis of all 32 NHL teams. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.